This home care client was able to get 22 qualified private pay home care leads through Google Ads through this campaign right here. If you want to see what kind of the leads needed, so I'm showing the summary of what the leads need on this screen right here, and I'm blocking out the name for privacy, but we can see the types of leads that they would get are people who need private pay services. So this person needs help with medicine, meals, and shopping. This person, can't stand, needs mobility help. Here are some call summaries of, they wanted to discuss home care services. You need transfer to toilet, support the father who's fully mobile. All these leads need private pay home care services, and they're all generated through Google Ads. So in this video, I'm going to tell you tips and tricks that you can apply to your Google Ad campaign to make sure that you can get the same amount of lead volume. And I'm going to also talk about the controlled chaos method as well, and how the controlled chaos method can get you so many more leads faster and at a lower cost per lead as well. Let's get right into it. So if you don't know me, my name is Aaron. I make content about how to get home care clients, specifically private pay, but I can also help getting you Medicare and Medicaid clients as well. If you want more content that I give out for free, please subscribe. As you can see, I am a small YouTuber, and every like and subscribe is seen, heard, and loved. And leave a comment below where you're at with your home care agency, and I promise I'll reply to every single comment that is on this video. I can guarantee you that. We can see here that you might be asking, hey, why is there a gap here? And that's because this specific client was having issues with their card for the most part. But we were able to get that fixed, and that's why it was able to start back up again. And as you can see here with the red and yellow lines, leads were able to be generated. So the cost per conversion is around $150. We're pretty much right on par with what I want when it comes to generating, private pay leads for Google Ads. So you might be saying, oh, $150 just for a call, just for a lead, that might be a lot. Well, if let's say you get 10 of those, that's $1,500 spent, and you're able to close one of them for $3,000 a month. Boom, you've already, made $3,000. That's per month. So if you keep a client for 5 months, which is around the average, 5-6 months, you're making $15K from one client, and you only paid $150 for that lead. And that's assuming you have a bad close rate of 10%. Obviously, if you have a better close rate, you can expect more revenue per lead when it comes to, running Google Ads. So as I mentioned a little bit before, I talked about the controlled chaos method when it comes to generating a bunch of leads very quickly when it comes to Google Ads. So what does that mean? So that is being broad when it comes to what you want when it comes with Google Ads. And what I mean by broad is using actual broad match keywords. So as you can see with my campaign, a lot of the keywords are broad match keywords for the most part, but you might be asking, hey, isn't the best thing to use phrase match or exact match for the most part? Well, the things with phrase match and exact match is, while they are good and they can get you people who are specifically looking for your services, those come at a higher cost, and B, you won't get as many impressions. And if you don't have as many impressions, you're not going to get as much lead volume. But you don't want to just start out with that. You don't want to start with a brand new Google ad campaign and just broad match. No, see, I've been running Google Ads for the past 5-6 years at this point. So I've accompanied a huge, what's called a negative keyword list. What negative keywords are is you're telling Google, hey, if these keywords are within the search term that people are typing in on Google, I do not want to show my ads for it. So you can see here, I have a couple different lists as well, which contain around, 2,000 keywords. And I have also a negative keyword list here, which you can see here. So I have the recording. I'll hide this now. I have around 7,000 negative keywords on this list alone, plus an additional negative keywords on these lists. So even though I'm running broad match campaigns, I am controlling the chaos because I have so many negative keywords that I'm not going to be showing up for the most ridiculous things. Am I still going to show up for things that I don't want to be showing up for? Yes, I am. Just because I have all these negative keywords, Google still finds a way to show my ads for stuff that I don't want to show up for. But thankfully, I don't get clicks on things I don't want to get show up for. And then I can also add them into my negative keyword list as well, ensuring that I don't show up for them ever again. So another thing that I do is I have what's called specific ad groups. So a lot of times when I audit campaigns, I see just one ad group and there's all these variety of different keywords in this one ad group. and then the ads do terrible because they don't have much ad relevance. So the reason why I make specific ad groups for specific ads is because that way I can make specific ads for the ad groups. So in home healthcare, all the ads are related to home healthcare, or they have the keyword term home healthcare. And then this one's like the healthcare near me plus the location. So you can add in the locations that you're in. So if you're in Chicago, you can say home care Chicago or home care Illinois, things like that. I have in-home help, living care, caregiver terms plus location, and home care services. And then you can see here I have high volume plus high cost. So this is one of my more general ad groups, I would say. So with that, I like to note that, hey, I will probably see a higher volume, and most likely see a higher cost as well. And then you might be curious, oh, hey, I'm seeing, insurance, unqualified, or job seeker. Is that included in that 22 leads you're talking about? Absolutely not. You can see here in the conversions, I only have what's called qualified leads, and what I have is unknown. So with unknown, I'm not 100% sure if they're unqualified or not, but based off the keywords they're searching for, and maybe based off the messages that they left, I would say that, hey, this is most likely should be counted towards, a qualified lead for the most part. Qualified, I know hands down is a qualified lead for the most part. So another part of the controlled chaos method is by using ads that are actually unpinned rather than pinned. So in a long time ago, I made a video about how I always pin my ads for the most part. And lately what I've been seeing is unpinning the ads has let me, gotten me more impressions, more clicks, and more calls at a cheaper rate as well. So what do I mean by pinning and unpinning? Okay, so what I have on screen right now is what's called a responsive search ad. So with that, you can give Google up to 15 headlines and 4 descriptions. And with that, Google's going to mix and match them and combine them to find the best headline and the best description for you. So what I used to say is, you want to pin multiple headline ones. So that way only, this headline can appear in headline 1, or this headline can appear in headline 1. Pin multiple headline 2s. So only this one and this one can appear in headline 2, and pin multiple headline 3s as well. What I've realized is just leaving them unpinned, and by letting the Google machine do the pinning for me, then with that, I've been able to get lower cost per conversions, more impressions, more clicks as well. So this is something you can definitely experiment with. It's important that you continually test those headlines as well. So another thing, and this is very, very important, is the conversion tracking. So you can see here, what I have here is different segments of conversion. So you can see here I have insurance or unqualified, qualified, or unknown in this case. And I got that by clicking on the segment icon here. You click on conversions and then conversion actions. So you can see this ad group has gotten me 6 qualified leads, a couple unknown leads as well. But you can see here the unknown isn't too much of an impact. And I also have a conversion value here. So if you remember, I said the unknown leads don't have as much impact. That's because I set an arbitrary, what's called a conversion value. What a conversion value is you can say, hey, Google, qualified lead comes in. I want you to say that's conversion value of $500. So this is a lot of a tactic what e-commerce Google ad agencies do. So they say that, if someone buys something for you for $100, the conversion value is $100. You can track that. For home care, it's very complicated. The lead could be worth $0 even if it's qualified, or the lead could be worth, $15,000 for the most part, because, you could have gotten that client. It's very hard to keep track conversion value, but I just use, generic value. So for qualified leads, I just say 300. And for unknown, I just say 50 for the most part, because I know if it's a qualified lead and I know it's a qualified lead, I want Google to put more weight into that than the unknown category as well. And then when it comes to insurance or unqualified, I still track that, but it doesn't affect my algorithm as well, and it's not going to be seen like in the dashboard. What you see in the dashboard is the conversion metric, which you can see here is 22. If we do all conversions, which is all leads, so the job seekers, unqualified people, etc., we can see here that's a little bit higher at 26, but the 22 mark, which is what I showed in the video and what's on the title. And then what also contributes to this campaign is, of course, optimization. So I talk about a lot about optimizations in other videos, but you want to see which keywords are working and turn off the keywords that aren't working for you. You want to go into your location setting data and see what locations are working for you, turn off the locations that aren't working for you. You want to go into your ad data, see which ads are working for you, pause the ads that are underperforming, and then make new ads, test, copy, reiterate, because you never know when you can find a better performer. So you can see here that, hey, if I wanted to truly optimize for, to get the lowest cost per conversion, I could pause the in-home help group, and then I could pause it, and hopefully that can lead to more money being spent on other ad groups as well. And you might be wondering what bidding strategy I'm using. I'm just using a target CPA bid, and I set a target CPA of very high. So this is actually really cool. So you can see my target CPA is $260, which means that I'm telling Google, hey, I want you to get me leads at $260 per lead. But what you're seeing here is I'm getting leads at $150 per lead. So don't be afraid to have a target CPA higher than what you actually want, because what you're doing with a higher target CPA is you're giving Google more wiggle room. And if your ads are performing better and your landing page is performing better than what Google expects, then you can get a lot lower of a target CPA for the most part. One more thing I'm going to talk about that's actually so important that not many people talk about, and this is the first time I think I'm discussing about it in this video, is audience size. So audience size is actually super, super important when it comes to Google Ads. It's more important than what people realize. So what I've realized is that if you have a smaller audience size, you can think of it as supply and demand. Smaller audience sizes means that there's less, searches for home care services. There's less searches for that, but the demand is high and competitors are still bidding on that keyword. Then you can expect to pay a higher cost per click. Compared to if you have a bigger audience, there is more supply of people searching for home care services, and let's say the amount of competitors stays the same or goes up by a little bit, your cost per click is going to be lower because there's so much more supply. So I'm not going to show the exact, audience size of this account, because that's going to have to go into locations, which is going to show the area that the client's in. I want to keep as many things as private as possible for, the client's privacy reasons. If we go into location data and we add up the population size that the Google Ads account is showing, it's going to show that the audience size is around 13 million people. So with 13 million people, we have a whole bunch of people that could be possibly searching for home care services. Maybe 1% or less of the audience size is going to be searching for your specific services per day. So with 13 million people, 1% of 13 million is higher than 1% of 1 million people. And because of that, we're going to have more opportunities for clicks, more opportunities for calls to come in as well. I would say anything under 3 to 5 million, you want to be more flexible when it comes to the controlled chaos. So that means if you're under 3 million, you might want to consider doing broad match keywords more. You want to consider having more unpinned ads, etc., doing things to open up the campaign as much as you can. Even with higher, populations, you still want to, have the controlled chaos method, but maybe you can get away with phrase or exact match because there's more people searching for your exact term in an audience of 13 million people compared to an audience of 1 million people. So that's my big thing when it comes with audience sizes. So if you do have a small audience size, it does not mean Google Ads can't work for you, but you might want to be a little bit more patient when it comes to getting things to work. And another thing I want to mention as well is the budget. So we saw that the total cost here was around $3,320, and this was around 2 months of running. So Google spent around $1,500 per month with this campaign. So it's important that you have a modest budget as well. I usually recommend $1,500 is an ideal, but you can start with as low as $1,000 a month. If you want me to do this for you, I have a link in the description as well. We can get on a call. If you're qualified, if you have a couple clients already, I can set this up for you. If you want me to set this campaign up for you and show you how to optimize it, then I also have that service as well, which you can see in the link in the description below. If you want to learn how to set up a campaign like this step by step, I have a video on this iCard up here that's going to show you just how to do that. I'll see you guys in that video. Take care.